Hello. So last week I talked about how to be a good software engineer, or I guess it applies also to product managers and other people in the era of agentic AI. And today I'm going to talk about the company's point of view. What should companies should do in the era of agentic AI? And more specifically, I'm going to talk about the domain of platform engineering, which is my domain, and cybersecurity, which is not my domain, but it's a domain that I work with sometimes. Oftentimes, I work with people that work in cybersecurity because the two domains are related. So yeah, what should company do in the era of AI? Like in the other video, some of the things are just good practices that were true before the advent of agentic AI, but are even more important nowadays. So, for example, dependency management. So all of you, if you're watching this video, you probably know about the infamous Hugging Face incident where the OpenAI agent hacked into Hugging Face to try and get the results of some evaluations, which is a very interesting incident. I won't get into it, but I'm just mentioning it because it's obvious that it's now obvious that the cyber capabilities of this new state-of-the-art models are getting dangerously good, and all companies will be more and more exposed to that. I'll talk later about what we can do regarding 0 days vulnerabilities, which probably that's what was used in that specific incident. But also, I work a lot with dependency management, and oftentimes in companies, dependencies are not up to date, right? There might be already known vulnerabilities that are not patched because sometimes it's not easy to update dependencies, and it's a lot of work. So yeah, what can we do? So how does it work usually in companies? There is something like Renovate Bot or some other sort of bots that will scan dependencies and raise merge requests when a patched version of a software is released. The issue is that software engineers will get overwhelmed with this merge requests because it's a lot of them, and especially with the agentic AI, the quantity of code that we write, it's increasing and increasing, which is another topic for another video. But long story short, it's a lot of merge requests that requires review. And software engineers, as I said, they get overwhelmed, and these merge requests, they end up not being merged. They end up abandoned, or in some cases, there are some people that will devote maybe a few days to try and merge as much as they can. So this is an obvious issue because it means that dependencies remain unpatched. So what can we do in the era of agentic AI? I think it's now fundamental that we have agents that try to automate as much as possible of this work. So you need at least one agent that goes through all the broken merge requests, let's say Renovate Bot, because obviously a certain percentage of them will be green and you can merge them, but a good percentage of them will be red and you won't be able to merge them because there are maybe some breaking changes or because some tests are breaking. So agents can probably take you, if not all the way, as close as possible to be able to merge these merge requests. So that's one thing that is necessary to do. And another thing is so once these dependencies are merged, ideally we want to be able to roll out automatically or deploy your service automatically. And if there are anomalies or errors, the system should be able to roll back automatically. And this is something that many companies already have in place. So at least in my experience, what I've seen. But I think more often is the automated dependency upgrade that is missing. And of course, sometimes in public companies, you're not allowed to do automatic merges because there might be financial implications of what you're doing. And in that case, you need human review. But there is a lot that we can do to try and make it as easy as possible for humans to review those changes. For example, presenting a dashboard with the changes and create some user interfaces where it just makes it up as easy as possible for humans to review those changes, as I said. So this is about the dependency upgrades. What about the 0 days, as I said earlier? Well, for the 0 days, we don't have a bill of materials. We don't know which softwares, we don't know where they are. So what we can do is we will have to, oh yeah, I took the wrong street, sorry. So what we can do is we need to automate red teaming. And this is more like cyber security field, which is not necessarily my field, but every company needs to have agents that constantly scour all the source code and all the systems looking for security flaws. And when these are found, ideally, in an ideal world, it should be able to fix it, deploy it, and monitor for changes. But again, maybe in the real world, it's not really possible to do that because again, many companies require human reviews. But as I said earlier, for the dependency changes, there are many things that we can do to automate as much as we can and maybe leave that 5% to the human instead of doing a lot of things manually. And let's remember that bad actors will have all these capabilities. They won't require any approval. And the open source models that are powerful and that they are out there with cyber capabilities because they have it in their training or because they're being obliterated or because they are helpful only variants, those models will be used by bad actors to access your systems. And even non-bad actors, sometimes rogue AI will just do it because of some goals that it has, like it happened for Hugging Face. So how do we do that? Another important thing is to constantly evaluate the open source models that are out there and evaluate their capabilities, not by looking at the benchmarks, which are quite useless these days, but actually implementing workflows. And in these workflows, we can then have evaluation systems that can tell us how good these agents are performing, if they're actually solving our problems or not, and if they're not, what can we do to improve, or which other models we can try. So yeah, there are many things on top of these that companies must do in the era of agentic AI. But this is definitely already a lot of meat for a series of projects that I think are fundamental, as I said. And many of these ideas come from a really interesting talk that I saw from OpenAI at the latest Black Hat 2026, when they actually talked about the Hugging Face incident that I mentioned. And the talk is very interesting in itself because they go through the incident and how it went, and they give a lot of details in a way that is much more clear than this sloppy articles that were posted online. But the conclusions were the bit that I found the most interesting, which in a way are very similar to what I just said today, except that I'm giving more like a dependency management and platform engineering spin because it's what I mostly work on. So yeah, there are many topics in this area, but this is just what I wanted to say today. And yeah, if in your company these things are not being done, at least you have some ideas that could maybe for an RFC or a new project that you could implement. And yeah, I think it's, as I said, we really need to stress the importance of doing these things now, because in maybe 6 months' time or 9 months' time, the Chinese model will probably have the open source Chinese model will probably have the Mythos level cyber capabilities. So this train is coming, and we have this small window of time to act and to prepare and embrace for impact. Said that, I think there is only so much that we can do. It's clear that the capabilities of these models are getting out of hand, and Anthropic has called for a slowdown when they wrote the article about the AI improving itself. And today, I think there was a Financial Times article about OpenAI, and the fact that they said that they're slowing down, which eventually they changed the wording from slowing down to something else because probably the investors didn't like that. But slowing down the development of the next model because they need to work on the alignment and sandboxing, which is scary stuff, but surely very interesting. So yeah, I hope you liked this video, and I'll see you next week.